Am I the a-hole for not inviting my brother to my wedding and telling my parents and sister that if they try to bring him, they will all be asked to leave? I have an older sister and a younger brother. Growing up, I was close to both my sister and brother. Then around high school, my brother started flirting with the girls I liked, even girls I was dating. Ended up in a relationship with one of my exes right after we broke up, and then he ended up sleeping with my ex-fiancée while we were together and 3 months away from our wedding. After that, I cut him off. I said we were done. He was dead to me and I no longer had a brother and never would again. It's been 7 years and I'm engaged again. My wedding is actually this January. It's small, intimate, with our closest friends and family. But my parents and sister are upset that my brother didn't get an invite. But I told them he was not welcome. They said he's still my brother, and I said no. He stopped being my brother a long time ago. He reached out via social media and asked if we could let the past be the past and move on. That he had always regretted what he did. He knows he treated me horribly, but he has changed so much throughout his 20s and wants to make amends. I blocked him and didn't reply. Then my sister said she would just bring him as her +1 if I won't be the bigger man. So I told her and my parents, they were there during this, that if any of them bring him with them, I will make sure they all leave and they will not be welcomed back to the wedding, and that I'm serious about this. They are saying I'm an a-hole, and that if I'm happy, I should be open to reconciling. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Yes, people grow and change, but the harm is done. You can't do it. Plus, it's your day. Do what makes you happy. I will say consider reconciliation in the future when you're not pressured into it. You might be able to foster a level of civility. He should cut them all out of his life. The family's on good terms with a crappy person, which makes them crappy. Not a-hole at all, but I think it's extreme to cut them all off for actions that weren't theirs. Parents won't just never talk to Opie's brother. He's their son, albeit an a-hole one. It's not Opie's place to dictate the parents-brother relationship. In the same way, it's not the family's place to dictate Opie's, lack of, relationship with a brother. Opie did all the right things and shouldn't be pressured into reconciliation. If they choose to ignore his reasonable boundaries, then maybe it is time to consider cutting them all off his life. Not stay home. You're not obligated to reconcile within someone else's time frame. The fact that your sister believes he would choose to come if she asked him as her +1 would seem to indicate he might not have changed all that much. Also, that's some nerve on her part. The wedding isn't about your parents, your sister, or your brother. It's about you and your fiancé. This. He is forcing himself back into Opie's life as if he is entitled to be there. His behavior gives me the feeling as if he thinks more about how he will look like towards others if he isn't invited to his brother's wedding. Not today home. Info. Did he actually say, "I'm sorry" to you? Did he describe how he would treat you differently if you let him back into your life? He did say he was sorry, and I'm not sure if he said what he would do differently. I didn't really read the whole thing. It was long AF, and I was not interested. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he downgraded? My 28 female brother Mike, 33 male, was married to Lisa, 31 female for 4 years, until last year when he was caught cheating with Penny, 29 female. My ex-sister-in-law was reserved, sweet, and was straight edge, no alcohol/drugs. Mike loves to party and went to court-ordered rehab before he was even 21. When Mike met Lisa, he sobered up, got an apprenticeship, and really turned his life around. He also threw that all away on Penny. Penny knew he was married. She got him drunk, and that is how the affair started. Penny is loud, disgusting, obnoxious, and encourages my brother to drink. And he thinks she's just so fun and the life of the party. We were at a family party this past weekend, and Mike and Penny were there. Some cousins we hadn't seen in years were there too and were introduced to Penny. And Mike introduced her as his upgrade. Cue major side eye for me. My brother noticed and pulled me aside later. He asked then why the attitude. That Penny was clearly an upgrade. I asked him to explain that comment. And he said that she's blonde, curvy, and fun, whereas Lisa looked like a librarian with no front. I decided to clear things up for him. Penny is obnoxious, rude, slovenly. Her hair is poorly bleached, and she smells like fungus. No one looks at her like a prize to be won. No one is jealous of him, which he thinks they are. His best friend won't even talk to him anymore because Penny made a dead baby joke to his wife after a miscarriage. I let him know that he actually chose alcohol over his ex. and Penny just encouraged him to do it because she had a crush on him for years. He called me a witch, and I told him same scenes. Pretty sure I am the a-hole on this one, to be honest. Not the a-hole. Your brother picked someone who makes dad baby jokes to his best friend after a trauma, costing him the friendship. That's not an upgrade. While I do agree with everything you say, I don't know. For some reason, something about calling a human an upgrade versus downgrade just doesn't sit well with me. It almost feels like you value them less as a person, which I think is incorrect. Everyone sucks here in my opinion. Not the a-hole. Sounds like Penny's a downgrade, but it's the grade that Mike deserves. In business, they call it right-sizing. You're the a-hole for attacking her. Your brother is the one who cheated. His choice, his responsibility, not hers. Yeah, I agree. The looks were a low blow. Sleeping with a married man knowingly makes her a home wrecker. She didn't say the vows, but she helped into cheating. It takes two to tango, and no cheater waltz by themselves. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my ex-husband's pregnant wife cry? So, my both 29 ex cheated on me with Rose, 30. She knew he had a wife and 3 kids because she was both my maid of honor and cousin. It's no shock that she doesn't like the fact she has to share my ex's attention with his 3 kids, 9 female, 4 male, and 3 male, and limits how much time we speak, aka co-parenting. So when she announced her pregnancy a few months ago, it was honestly the countdown before my kids were pushed aside. Like, obviously she isn't all to blame as their father should put them first. Since she's pissed on that stick, there's been multiple weeks where she was too ill to have the children stay, or they had to come home early. Then she's miraculously is well enough to go out to dinner or see a movie. They come to me a few weeks ago, and suggested that basically 2 weeks before her due date and until the baby is 2 weeks old, that my ex wouldn't take them but FaceTime and visit every day, minus when she goes into labor plus a few days after. Which was fair, and I agreed. Till tonight. I got a phone call from my crying 9-year-old. Apparently my cousin brought herself McDonald's back for dinner, and when my 3-year-old asked for a chicken nuggets, she screamed at him, calling him a fat pig, then went on a rant on how much she hated having them over because they make her sick. By the time I got there, their POS father was waiting outside with my very upset kids. I asked my sister to get them into the car and pull down a little bit so they wouldn't hear anything. Before I could talk, he blamed it on her hormones and tried to laugh it off. But I told him he was a crappy father and a coward. Then cousin waddled up to the door and suggested that the kids don't come back till the baby's at least 5 months old. She's 6 months pregnant, by the way. And no FaceTime or visits when she turns 8 months until the baby is 3 months old, so they have a chance to bond. I stared at her till she tried to blame it on her bleeding and breastfeeding. Had enough. So I said, they're kids, not sharks. So the bleeding BS wouldn't work, wicked stepmom. We have been trying to push my kids out since day one. But guess what? You can have him completely like a man that throws away his kids for some no-good woman. And I don't want my boys to think that's how to act. And I don't want you around my daughter for the same reason I pity your kid. She started crying and my ex called me cold-hearted witch. I said thanks, then walked away. After all the phone calls and calming down, I think I went into a-hole mode. Now for the top comments before the little update. I'm going to say not the a-hole. She clearly wants to start over with her husband and exclude the kids. Shame on your husband for not sticking up for his own kids. Yeah, that's the worst part. He should have stuck up for his kids long ago. I think he's way more at fault than the current wife. Truthfully, yes, you're right. I know I hate her, but he has full blame because if I was dating a guy and he didn't treat my kids like his own, we wouldn't be together. Not stay home, Mama Bear. I think you should give your ex's wife what she wants and try to get full custody of the kids. Oh, I am. Don't worry about that. No dad is better than a crappy one. Not stay home. I feel so bad for your kids. Your ex is the a-hole for letting someone kick his kids out of his life. They won't forget how horrible him and his wife have treated them. It may be best for you to keep them away. My daughter cried herself to sleep asking why her father didn't want her. I feel horrible because this has caused drama with my ex-in-laws too. So it's obviously gotta hurt her more. Edit. To the people sending me messages offering me money to help pay for a lawyer. Even though you're amazing people with good hearts, it's not a money issue. I've not gone full custody yet because, and this is the most heartbreaking reason, my kids love their father so much. My ex is my 9-year-old daughter's world. Her face lights up when he drops by, and she's smiling the whole day. but unfortunately she cries herself to sleep when they cut the visit short. So for months I fought with myself about going full custody. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving early for my husband's party? I, 28 male, and my husband, 30 male, are newlyweds. We got married this August and had a very small wedding. We just bought a wonderful townhouse that is great for us and our 2 dogs. We both work full-time and split the bills. All of the families get along very well, and we couldn't be happier. The only issue that we have is that his friend group likes to make jokes and pull pranks on people. They post all of their videos on social media and will pull pranks on people that aren't expecting them. I have voiced my concern with my husband, and he will tell them to tone it down. But when my husband hangs with them, his personality will change. My sister, 25 female, had a birthday party this past June, and they decided to squirt invisible ink all over her dress. She was devastated, and I spent the rest of the night fighting with my husband. His reaction is always the same. It's just me having fun with the boys. We celebrated his birthday on Monday and had his party at his parents' house. I went over earlier to help set up and baked my husband's favorite dessert, Dutch apple pie. I put some whipped cream on the pie and placed it in the fridge. The party seemed to be going great until I saw one of his friends carrying the pie I made and slams it into my husband's face, wishing him a happy birthday. Husband was laughing and went to clean himself off. I was shocked and speechless. I said goodbye to his family and left. When husband came home, he was pissed that I left and told me to take a joke. I have been giving him the cold shoulder since. Am I the a-hole for leaving early for my husband's birthday party? Not the a-hole. A reminder that if everyone isn't laughing, it's not a joke. It's cruelty. Plain and simple. Your husband and his friends need to grow up. Nobody else was laughing except him and his friends. They destroyed your work. If you weren't laughing, then it wasn't a joke. Why is he okay with your work and effort for his birthday being destroyed as a joke? Not the a-hole. His friends clearly don't care how their actions affect others. Your husband is completely disregarding your feelings, and wasting the dessert you made especially for him was disrespectful. If he wants to interact with his buddies like this, he needs to do so away from your family and any other innocent bystanders. While his friends may consent to pranking each other, the other victims clearly did not. Not the a-hole. You spent time and effort baking his favorite dessert. What happens if other people wanted some and it's not available because his friend did that? It's one thing to bring a separate pie to do that with, but they destroyed something you did for him. Can't have fun with the boys without being a nuisance to people around you, which sounds like they are. Your sister definitely didn't ask to be part of their pranks. She did not want to be part of any of the pranks. She had no idea it was invisible ink until they told her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister's wedding with my husband after he got kicked out of it? My female 30, sister's female 27 wedding was last week. She and her husband chose formal attire as the dress code for their wedding. It was mentioned beforehand to give guests the heads up. But when my husband, male 33, found out, he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all, saying he didn't think it was fair to dictate what guests wear in the first place, and that this entire rule was stupid and unnecessary. Then complained in person to my sister and her now husband. He said he wanted to wear something casual, which is what he usually wear, and asked if they could turn a blind eye and just let him attend wearing casual since his family. My brother-in-law said rules are for all with no exceptions. My husband repeatedly expressed how uncomfortable he was wearing a suit, and that all of his old suits are just lame and made him look older. My brother-in-law stated this was the official dress code and asked my husband to either follow it or not go. My husband came home after that, saying my brother-in-law was power-tripping and acting like a typical spoiled white kid who wants everything his way and control others as they were puppets. I said that it's his wedding, so of course he gets the final say, and suggested that he wear his newest suit and buy a tie. At the day of the wedding, I went early to help my sister since I had a part in it, and then suddenly we heard noise coming from the entrance. It was my husband, wearing blue jeans and a red Garrett t-shirt, arguing with my brother-in-law and the staff, insisting on getting inside. I rushed to get involved, and my brother-in-law repeatedly asked my husband to go put on a suit or not come back. My husband refused, and they exchanged few choice words and Mom got involved, but my brother-in-law told him to leave. My husband resisted, then told me to grab my stuff so we could leave together. But I said no. He looked stunned, but I said I didn't do anything. Besides, I wanted to be with my sister and had work to do. He got upset and left. He blew up at me after I got home, saying I had no problem standing there watching my sister and her husband humiliate and kick him out, then refusing to take a stand and leave with him. I told him this was the outcome of his stubbornness, and he replied saying, since when wanting to have a freedom to wear whatever I want meant stubbornness. He said I should have supported him and went home with him, and not let my family mistreat him like that. Not today home. Your husband had plenty of notice to find something appropriate to wear, was repeatedly told the dress code, and he had it turned up in jeans and a t-shirt. He didn't even attempt to dress nice casual in slacks and a button-up. He's definitely the a-hole in this situation. You support your spouse when they are in the right, not when they are behaving like toddlers that don't want to wear their socks. The husband is an extra a-hole for his typical white spoiled kid comment, just because he did get what he wanted. Dress codes are normal for wedding, work, but he wants to be the big exception. In Germany, we call it Extrawurst. Whining about freedom and acting like a dress code is oppression? Sounds like a typical white spoiled kid to me. Not today home. You didn't humiliate him. He humiliated himself. He was repeatedly told the rules, and if he couldn't follow them, he shouldn't show up. Hopefully when he comes down, he can be the better person and apologize. If he can't, good luck navigating that. But do not waste a minute thinking you and your family are to blame over his hurt feelings or embarrassment. Not today home. Your husband sounds like an entitled prick. No idea why I married him. Totally agree. His freedom is more important than anyone else's wishes. Like he is the most important person anywhere. That makes him a baby and a huge a-hole and certainly not ready for marriage. Not today, Alopi, but how do you stand him? Am I the a-hole for stepping down as a bridesmaid just one day before the wedding? So last weekend, it was my sister-in-law's wedding. My sister-in-law is my fiancé's sister, to clarify. I've been with my fiancé for 5 years, and we've been engaged for 2. Before I got with my fiancé, his family was trying to get him to date another female friend of his, who he no longer talks to because she said some pretty horrible things about him and some of his friends. Plus, she was always trying to put me in my place since I started dating my fiancé, claiming she'll always come first in his life. Long story short, stuff happened and they no longer talk. I have a pretty close relationship with his family, especially his 2 siblings, his sister, the bride, and his brother. One day before the wedding, we were having a family lunch with the bride's family, and during lunch she started mentioning that female ex-friend of my fiancé. She started saying what a gorgeous girl she is and how pretty she is. My fiancé and I felt uncomfortable. And my fiancé was pretty pissed because that ex-friend has caused a lot of damage in my fiancé's life in the past. So it was hurtful for him to hear his sister praising her like that. But he stayed silent since he didn't want to cause drama during the wedding period. The nail in the coffin was when my sister-in-law said that it's a shame my fiancé never got to date, female ex-friend, since I came along and took her place. Because she'd love to have her as a bridesmaid. But because of me she can't, and she can't even call her a sister because of me. My mother-in-law told her to apologize and tried to do damage control, claiming my sister-in-law was joking. But sister-in-law said she's not joking. She really feels that way. Then proceeded to say she loves me as her new sister-in-law, but she'd just prefer female ex-friend. I kindly got up and excused myself, saying I'll head home. While I was gathering my stuff to leave, I also said I'd withdraw as a bridesmaid since I'm not really the one she wanted there, and that she should contact ex-friend while she still has time, and I'll give her my dress since we are the same size. Fiancé left with me, and while leaving, he said something along the lines of, "You never know when to shut your mouth," to his sister. Mother-in-law justified me walking out. So did my brother-in-law and father-in-law. They say bride's words were ridiculous. They tried to convince me to stay as a bridesmaid but respected my wish to walk out. My family, on the other hand, said I'm the a-hole for not sucking it up for one more day and walking away from the role while making the bride stressed. So, am I the a-hole? P.S. I still attended the wedding as a guest. Bride did not talk to me at all, but the groom did, and he said I'm right to be upset, but he thinks I shouldn't step down last minute over a joke. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. I'm so glad your in-law stood up for you and supported your decision. However, for the groom to call her comments a joke is very wrong. Was he there when she initially said them? I hope you're doing okay, but you don't need her in your life. He wasn't there. It was the day before the wedding, and bride and groom just spent their days with their own families. He was with his family. Too bad Mr. Wiener mean girl making an appearance. If he hadn't, there may not have been a wedding. Not day home. What a horrible thing to say. She clarified it wasn't a joke, so why does her husband still think it is? Yes, agreed. And the groom contradicts himself by saying Opie is right to be upset. But then in the next breath, it's a joke? Not day home. Your sister-in-law pissed around and found out. Also, it wasn't a joke. It was a calculated dig. It left you with no option but to step down. She didn't think I'd react, let alone step down. She thought I'd stay silent through it all. Mother-in-law told me afterwards. I can't believe you still attended the wedding. I would have left and Venmo'd her for the amount of the dress and the gift you bought. The dress wasn't expensive, thankfully, so I don't mind. Since nobody else used it, I'll keep it and have it tailored into a shorter party dress. As for the gift, it was a mutual gift from me and my fiancé, so I wouldn't want to cause more drama by asking for the money back, you know. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin that my best friend slept with her fiancé while we were on vacation? For context, I have known my best friend for about 10 years. We, both 23, met in middle school. My cousin, 25 female, and her fiancé, 28 male, have been dating for about 8 years and engaged since March 2020. The wedding is in December, and because of COVID, we hadn't been able to celebrate the engagement until recently. So my cousin and my uncle rented a house in Italy for a week. It was going to be the cousins, the ones over 18, my cousin's friends, her fiancé, and some of his friends. All we had to do was cover plane ticket expenses. My cousin asked if I was planning on inviting my best friend as well, and that she was welcome to come if I wanted. Of course I said yes. Fast forward to the trip, everything goes fine. We all have a great time. I noticed that my best friend and fiancé are getting along pretty well, but nothing alarming. They had met multiple times prior at different events. I mean, everyone was getting along, so nobody thought anything of it. One of the last nights, we decided to go out. We are having a great time dancing, drinking, and suddenly my best friend tells me and my cousin she's super tired and is going to take a taxi home. Fiancé hears this and tells us he's going to head home and call it a night as well. They order a taxi and another friend of fiancé's joins them. We end up going home early that morning after watching the sunrise, then head to bed. Everything is fine. We go back home a few days later. About a month passes and life has gone back to normal. Except my best friend is being a bit weird. I share an apartment with her, by the way. Until one night we are sitting down on the couch and she just breaks down and tells me she has something to tell me, and that she feels awful about it, but I have to promise not to tell anyone. I say of course, because, well, this is my best friend. She proceeds to tell me that on the night they left the bar early, they ended up sleeping together. That they were smoking outside and started talking and ended up having some more wine, and that it just happened. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I told her, I can't believe you've done this. You've ruined my cousin's life. She tells me that if I don't tell her, she will never know, and we get into a huge fight. A few days later, I decided to go to my cousin's house and tell her, not because I want to hurt anyone, but because she needs to know who she is marrying. She's pissed, calls her fiancé, and everything goes downhill from there. Now my whole family's so angry at my best friend and at me for bringing her. They're currently not speaking to me, saying I should have picked my friends better, that I've played a part in ruining her life. My best friend is also pissed, I told her, saying she feels betrayed and like she can't trust me anymore. My cousin is the only one who's on my side, but she's a bit busy trying to figure everything out. Am I the a-hole for telling her? Not the a-hole. Let me see if I can get this straight. Your best friend slept with a man who was in a committed relationship with your cousin. The best friend has the nerve to be angry at you for telling the woman whose life she messed up, who was your cousin, despite the fact that she slept with him. It was totally in the wrong. Your family, except the cousin, is all angry at you like this is your fault, that the fiancé cheated? All you did was spare your cousin heartache before she married the man. The family should be thanking you for that, and be angry only at the friend and the man. The friend should be angry at her own actions, and at the fiancé for putting her in this situation. Also, if the friend did want this getting back to the cousin, maybe she shouldn't have told Opie. I about lost my crap. The best friend is the one who feels betrayed. Lol, OMG. The entitlement in that one is legendary. Not stay home. As someone who's been cheated on and having so-called friends hide it from me, I'd have been more forgiving if I was told before. Your so-called best friend messed up. Your cousin's fiancé messed up. You did the right thing in telling your cousin. And everyone here needs to be pissed at the fiancé, who barely gets a mention. He is definitely the most at fault here, having cheated while in a committed relationship and told no one. Not Day-Hole. Not Day-Hole. There is no way you could have known your best friend and cousin's fiancé would sleep together. I don't understand how your family can say you chose your best friend over your cousin, when you actually told your cousin even though your best friend asked you not to. The only a-holes here is your cousin's fiancé and your best friend. Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out in the middle of my boyfriend's birthday party? I, female 25, have been with my boyfriend, male 28, for 3 years. Our relationship is great, and we rarely fight. His birthday was days ago. I wanted to do something together, but his parents already decided to host the party at their house. My boyfriend got there first. I showed up after I got off work and he was there with the guests, busy talking and greeting in the backyard. I took a seat in the back and the sister showed up with her husband and son Jake. We're not on good terms, by the way. He said hi, then asked if I could watch her son Jake. I was like, but she disappeared and left her kid with me before I could even answer. So I decided to just keep an eye on him till she gets back since he was sitting across from me. I spilled my drink on my top, which was messy. I gave Jake my phone to play on it and asked him to sit still till I get back. Then I went to use the bathroom to clean up the stain. Clearly Jake walked towards the pool, and the floor was slippery, so he slipped and fell and injured his knee. That's when I heard loud noise coming from outside like people panicking. I went to see what's going on and saw my boyfriend and his family with Jake. I heard my boyfriend's dad ask who was supposed to watch Jake, and his sister said my name. My boyfriend saw me and shouted, "Opie, where the hell have you been? How could you let this happen?" I was taken aback and said I was in the bathroom cleaning up the stain. He asked, "Is the stain more important than my nephew?" I explained that his family or his mother should have kept an eye on him. He said there are many guests, so they probably didn't notice, and said I should stop turning this around on his family since I agreed to watch Jake. I said no, I did not initially agree to watch Jake, and came to the party as a guest, not as a babysitter. And that his sister just dumped him on me and disappeared without even waiting to hear if I was going to say no. We had an argument, and I got fed up being presented with a hypothetical scenario after a hypothetical scenario of what could have happened if Jake fell inside a pool and was blamed to no end. So I grabbed my stuff and walked out. My boyfriend's parents saw me leave, and he followed me asking me to wait and return, but I refused. He said I have no reason to be upset, but more reason to be worried just like they all were, and insisted I go back inside, but I got in my car and left. He came back later looking pissed. He said that yes, while it might be his sister's fault for still bringing her son after he stated he didn't want kids there because of the pool, but said I ruined the party by walking out and refusing to take responsibility, and admit I should have made sure Jake was safe before leaving him out of my sight whether I agreed to watch him or not. He said his parents are rightfully upset and didn't appreciate my behavior earlier on. Then walking out, which hurt him on a personal level since his birthday, should mean something to me. I felt like he might be right and mishandled this entire situation. Am I the a-hole? Jake is 4 years old. Everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have ditched her kid with you, but it's not shocking to understand why you shouldn't leave a toddler alone, especially by a pool. Did you really think telling him to sit still was going to work? There's immaturity in both ends in this post. This. She should have found sister and said, "I won't watch your kid." If you know you're the only adult watching a toddler and you leave the room without telling another adult, not okay. Regardless of how the situation came to be. Obviously, everyone else in this story sucks for obvious reasons. Yeah, I was very much on Opie's side at first because it's never okay to dump your kid on someone who doesn't agree to look after them. But she lost me very fast at the moment of walking away. Clearly, asking anyone else was not that hard. You could have even taken the kid with you if you couldn't find anyone to watch him. Child without supervision plus pool sounds like parents' worst nightmare. Everyone sucks here. I can totally see where you're coming from that you didn't agree to look after the nephew. However, you should have had someone else watch the child rather than leave them unattended. Whether that be the child's parents or grandparents or even your partner. Your partner was rightfully concerned. The child could have been hurt, and it would have been your responsibility because you were, in fact, watching the kid. But he shouldn't have had this conversation in front of everyone. You shouldn't have left the party either. Instead of doing this, you could have had a conversation with your partner afterwards, where you could have explained your frustrations at having the nephew left in your care when you didn't agree to it. I think all parties involved could have handled the situation better, including your partner's sister. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk to my son and husband until they apologize to my mother-in-law? My mother-in-law, Sandra, 69 female, is a weird woman. She refers to herself as that. She has random outbursts, hyperfixations, tics, and struggles immensely with social cues. She hasn't been diagnosed with anything, so I won't speculate. When I first met my husband's family, I noticed that all of them, except my husband, made fun of Sandra and her quirks. For example, we were having dinner one night, and my mother-in-law couldn't stop talking about flowers. She loves plants and nature and is super knowledgeable about it. My sister-in-law made a comment making fun of her, and everybody at the table laughed about it. Sandra got extremely embarrassed and did not talk for the rest of the night. This kind of behavior is normal in the family, and I despise it. I get so angry whenever someone makes fun of Sandra, because she is just such a kind, lovely woman that I just can't fathom why they do that. I've had a lot of conversations about this with my husband, and even fights when he laughs about the jokes. We have a son, 15 male, named Alex, and my biggest fear is becoming true. Alex has started to pick up the behavior around him. It has been laughing at Sandra. I've talked to him about why laughing at her is bullying, how that behavior is inappropriate, etc. But Alex doesn't seem to care. 2 weeks ago, we went to see Sandra. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were there along their families. Sandra looked very happy. While catching up, she randomly started clapping, one of the tics that appear when she is excited. My brother-in-law made a comment poking fun of her, and the whole family laughed, including my husband and Alex. Sandra got teary-eyed and had to excuse herself to the bathroom. I've never been more furious, and while on our way home, I chewed my husband and son out, and told them to not speak to me until they apologized to Sandra. I told them that I don't want to hear a single word directed to me until they reflect on how their actions are hurtful and disgusting. 2 weeks have passed, and I haven't spoken to them. Not a single word. Because they have made 0 attempts on apologizing to Sandra. My husband is telling me that I am being petty and hurting Alex. He is also mad at me for valuing my relation with Sandra more than my relation with them. In my mind, I am not doing that. But husband says that I am being an a-hole. Not an a-hole at all. So if I have the dynamics correct, your husband bullies his mother, your son now is bullying his grandma, and basically everyone else in the family does it to her just because she gets happy over things and expresses it differently and likes to talk about things that make her happy. They are mean to her to the point she cries and they all think this is okay. Your husband has trained your son to be a bully, and that laughing and watching other people hurt is funny. This was painful to read. I can't imagine how many years poor Sandra has had to live with being treated this way. I hope she knows that you love and accept her just the way she is. I vote OPCs if mother-in-law wishes to get an apartment together. She sounds like a better roommate than husband or son. That's a great idea. Lol. Sandra owns the house my brother-in-law lives in, so maybe I'll convince her to kick him out so we can both move there. For real. Reading the comments, I see that my marriage is doomed if I don't correct this behavior. Edit. It's a joke. I won't abandon my child or anything similar. Please don't tell me I'm an awful mom. They're tormenting a woman who clearly is neurodivergent. It's disgusting. I am with you. Both need to learn not to pick on disabled people. I would also be guessing my marriage too if I were you. Am I the a-hole for refusing to bake a cake for my sister and brother-in-law? I'm a guy and baking has always been my passion. It's something me and my mom used to do a lot growing up before she passed. My sister wasn't as into it as I was, and she liked it even less after mom passed away, but I continued learning. I'm not a professional, but I work part-time at a pastry shop while I finish college. It's something I'm teased about by my family sometimes, but I ignore them. My sister started dating her husband a few years back, and he joined the teasing too. I don't like him in general because he's kind of a prick, and likes to make fun of me even more than my family. They are married now and have my niece who's 5. For the last couple years, My sister has asked me to bake birthday cakes for my niece, which I don't mind doing because I love my niece. And she's a fair critic when it comes to judging how good my cakes are, lol. They're gonna be celebrating their wedding anniversary soon, and she asked me if I can bake a special cake for them. But I told her no, because they both still make fun of me just because I enjoy baking. My niece is a different story because she's a kid, and this doesn't involve her. But I have more respect for myself than to make a cake for two people who like to tease me about doing something as girly and emasculating as baking in the kitchen. Something I told her even she sucks at. So they're both giving me crap over that because they really want to make this a special anniversary. My niece tight because of their financial troubles, and they wanted this one day to be perfect. My dad says I'm being too petty over this, and it's going to ruin the day for my sister and brother-in-law after the year they've had. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Doesn't matter that they are family. You have a right to decide what you do and don't want to do. Plain and simple. They shouldn't be rude to someone they ask favors from. Why are they always family when they need something, but not when you do? Simple answer? They're a-holes. Not the a-hole. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Perfect time for this saying. I hate that I didn't even realize that until now. Lol, it's too close to home. Good for you respecting yourself and respecting your skills. If one of the cakes they've been speaking down to you about ruins their special days, that says so much more about them and about your father than about you. Not the a-hole. Ha ha ha, baking is such a girly and stupid thing, a waste of time, and we treat you bad. But please use those skills that you worked years on to make us something special on our special day without us paying you. You are not the a-hole here. They are. Your reaction is absolutely right. I love that, after everything, you have been following this passion. This is the best summary of this post. Opie, I wish you could make this your title. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for banning my brother from my house after I lost my dog? My brother was staying in the back house of my place because he was having a fight with his girlfriend and isn't staying in their apartment. My dog is outside during most of the day, and I told him a million times to close the damn gates when he comes to the house. Last Thursday, my brother went to his friend's house and got home at like 6 a.m. I was already gone for work and left my dog out in the yard. When I got home, the gate was wide open and my dog Maddie was nowhere to be found. It was so obvious it was my brother because I always remember to close the gate after I pull my car out. He denied it until I checked the front camera, which clearly showed him coming in from the front and not bothering to close right behind him. I was so mad at my brother I told him to leave because I don't want him in my house anymore, and I went out to look for my dog. Got called up by my parents later on since he had to go to their place, and they yelled at me for not being a good brother, letting him not have a place to stay over my dog. They already know he messed up by ignoring the one thing I kept telling him to, but that's no excuse to ban him from my house. I don't know. I'm just mad he didn't listen to me and now my dog is gone. So far can't find him at any of the shelters. I'm losing hope and it makes me even more mad at my brother that I don't want to see him right now. But they keep saying that's too extreme and shouldn't hold it against him when he's needing some support right now. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You have every right to say who is and isn't allowed to stay at your house. Should have apologized and tried to help you find your dog as well. Brother or not, if they caused the loss of my dog, is dead to me. Yep, there's no remorse or regret, no mention of an apology, and the brother hasn't even helped look for the dog. Not only did the brother mess up, he isn't doing a thing to help find a dog. Just went running to mommy and daddy because big bro was being mean. You are definitely not the a-hole. Your brother, on the other hand, is a massive a-hole. All you requested from him was to close a gate when he enters your property, which is reasonable. He couldn't do so, and you lost a family member as a result. If your parents want to berate you so badly, they should just let him stay with them. Maybe he will leave a door open and a burglar would get inside. If I were OP, every instance in the future I would leave everything wide open at the parents' house and see how quickly the parents' stance changes. Not the a-hole. It's like that meme, you had one job. Eddie messed up. Ed is not homeless, staying at your parents' home. In my opinion, let him stay there and mess things up over there. As for your parents supporting him emotionally, they should do that for you too. That they aren't is inconsiderate of them towards you. Going with not today how. If it was literally the only thing you ask, you should have kept track of it. Sounds like you told him enough. Honestly, the lying about it would upset me more. Just be honest. Help me find a dog and we can get around it. But the lying is just so bad. I have to trust someone I have in my home. If I don't, they don't stay. Mistakes happen. Lies, though, those are conscious decisions. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not quitting my job so my nephew can go to a special needs school? I am a special needs teacher in the Netherlands. I teach students ages 12 and up. My nephew is highly intelligent, but he has autism. He cannot relate to other students, and even though he is really intelligent, he has the mental age of someone that is 7, even though his physical age is 12, so regular schools wouldn't be an option. A few years ago, I got a job as a special needs teacher specialized in autism. I love the school I work at, have amazing coworkers, and I find the students to be very interesting in a positive way. This truly is my dream job, and unless something changes negatively, I could see myself working here until I retire. My sister-in-law and I don't get along. She hates the fact I can get along better with nephew than she can. To be honest, it is very hard to turn off the way I speak to people with autism, as it is what I do for 5 days a week. So I can't realistically turn it off when speaking to nephew. Due to this, he responds better to me than his mother. I have offered my sister-in-law some pointers on how to understand him better, but every time I did this, I got the same old excuse of, I'm his mother. I know better. You don't even have kids, so you don't know what you are talking about. In the Netherlands, there aren't many special needs high schools that focus primarily on HAVO and VWO. This is where I get the most enjoyment out of. In our immediate area, there is only one. The next closest one would be an hour commute every day. My nephew's getting to that age where he has to go to high school. He can do VWO, and this would also be realistic for him to pass. However, due to a rule in my school, teachers cannot have family members attending the school. He cannot go to my school. The next one over would be an hour commute for him by taxi. If he's lucky enough to get a taxi to himself, they are often shared. In the Netherlands, an hour commute by car is really uncommon. My sister-in-law came to me to ask if I could put in a good word for nephew, as there is more demand for special needs schools than there are special needs schools. I then told her I cannot do that and nephew couldn't go to my school, as that would mean I would have to quit because of the rule. My sister-in-law threw a fit, told me I don't want nephew to succeed, and that if she was in my shoes, she would have quit. I told her that this is my dream job, and no amount of begging would change my mind. But if she wanted to, I could probably put in a good word for nephew at the other school, as many special needs schools in the Netherlands have frequent contact. After this phone call, my sister-in-law called my wife, told her that I don't want nephew to succeed, and that she should consider a divorce. So, am I the a-hole here? I know family should help each other, but I never thought this would mean giving up something I truly love to do. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are willing to support with tips and guidance, and even reference to another school, but to ask you to quit is too far. There's a saying, you don't need to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. That applies here. Also, calling his wife telling her to divorce OP is juvenile. Personally, if I had a kid with special needs and someone I was related to could talk to my kid, I would be ecstatic for my kid. The fact that the sister-in-law is upset that he can talk to your kid is sad, because she isn't thinking about what's best for her kid. I'm a speech therapist and I have had relatives ask about their child, and when I pointed out some areas of concern, was outright dismissed after they ask. Unfortunately, I don't think the sister-in-law's behavior is that uncommon. It is inappropriate, but not that uncommon in my experience. When I first noticed some things wrong with my nephew, I was also dismissed right away. People rarely listen to family because they don't want to believe something is wrong with their kids. Not the a-hole. You shouldn't be made to feel bad about not quitting your dream job. That does seem like a weird rule though. Do you know why that rule came about? Yeah, a couple of years ago before I even got there was a teacher who had her stepson in her class. She only paid attention to him, try to make other students with special needs to solely work around his needs. Other parents complained, and the kid was transferred to another school. The teacher quit a week later. It was a whole drama, I'm told. Sounds like what they should have done was move the stepson into another classroom and under a different teacher. The school is too small. A special needs school only has 11 students in a class, and more often than not, only has around 100 to 130 students. This means that he would still be taught by her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling out my sister's partner? Background. I, 24 male, have 2 stepsisters, 28 female/32 female, who I'm very close to. We were raised together, and although we don't share the same parentage, we have always seen each other as siblings, to the point where we all dislike the term step-sibling, as we think it devalues our relationships. My eldest sister, Faith, has a partner who is considerably older than her. I believe he is in his early 40s, not sure exactly. This is not uncommon in our family. And whilst I find it a bit strange, as long as she's happy, that's all I really care about. Now, my family is huge and very close. Christmas/Easter/other family events will regularly have a head count of 30 plus. These events are always very loud, very busy, and could easily seem quite intimidating if you're not used to that kind of environment. My partner has told me she felt very anxious about these events at first, but has since settled and loves the atmosphere. My sister's partner, we will call him Jake, has spent the past 4 years of their relationship actively avoiding these family events. He is the only child from a very small family who aren't particularly close, and he uses this as his reasoning for declining every single invitation extended to him. Nobody's particularly bothered by this, and nobody has gone out of their way to encourage him to join us. He declines, and we accept this without question. Recently, I was visiting Jake and Faith about an hour or so away. After a few drinks, Jake starts talking about how he feels that nobody in the family likes him, and it's sad that nobody makes an effort to come and see him and Faith. This is a common discussion he likes to bring up when we've been drinking for some reason, and not the first time I have had to have this conversation. I tried to avoid the subject, as in my opinion, he's had every invitation extended to him, so he's made it quite clear that he doesn't like to interact with us unless absolutely necessary. This goes on for about an hour or so before he says, "It's like your family don't even care about Faith, my sister." This is where I snapped and essentially told him to grow the hell up. I said that if people wants to make an effort with him, he needs to grow some confidence and turn up to a few family events, and then people will start treating him as a member of the family. He said he can't go to these events because he has anxiety, to which I told him that's a poor excuse for being too lazy to make the effort. My sister has since told me that I was out of line, and that I shouldn't have said anything. I agree that calling him lazy was perhaps too far. I also suffer from anxiety that would have crushed me, but I'm not having someone tell me my family don't care about my sister. As far as I'm concerned, he has made no effort to integrate into the family, yet expects us to bend over backwards to make him feel welcome. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, he was a whiny brat. I'm from a similar type of family as you, and we have huge events, and we frequently joke about how new people need flashcards and how overwhelming our family parties can be. It does take a genuine effort to pull new people in and make them comfortable. The fact that no one in your family has tried to do that part is kind of a-holy. You took it way too far in your conversation with him though, and while it sounds like you've realized you were in the wrong, it doesn't sound like you've apologized. My family have tried to bring him in closer. Perhaps I should have explained further. It's not like we expect him to just turn up and be fine with everything straight away. Much like your family, we are also aware that it can be intimidating. Over the course of 4 years, he has been invited to every family event, but has been to none. What else can we do? If he says he doesn't want to come, we aren't about to turn up at his house and drag him along. Do you guys ever have smaller events? Had your sister invited a few of you over theirs to smaller events? There are some people who could never ever handle the kind of event you're talking about due to anxiety. It's not about trying or being lazy. It's not going to happen. I have no problem with him not attending the family event. I make the effort to come and visit, and have done multiple times. Nobody mentions the family events except for him. The only one making any complaints is him. I can't be held responsible for the fact that other family members don't come to visit them. I'm just sick of being the guy that has to sit there and listen to all of his issues, when I'm the one who makes the effort all the time. Everyone sucks here. This may be a controversial view, but you both didn't behave well. If the point that made you so angry was that he said your family don't care about your sister, then you should have reacted on that comment. Explain that that's not the case, not attacking him and his actions. He, on the other hand, shouldn't whine about being left out when he's the one avoiding the family. If his anxiety is that severe, he could invite some people, smaller groups, that makes him feel more comfortable. I understand why you reacted like that. But telling him he's lazy and should grow balls when he's anxiety, again if it's really that severe, wasn't the right way to go. To clarify on the anxiety point, his issues with big groups seem to only crop up where my family's concerned. He and I are both big music fans, and he has no problem going to festivals in groups of 20-somethings, shoulder to shoulder in a concert crowd of 20,000. Am I the a-hole for refusing to open the door for my sister when she brought her kids to stay with me? This is an ongoing conflict. Yesterday at 11 a.m. I was alone at home. Dear husband went to work early and I was just starting my daily cleaning routine when the bell rang. I, female 30, peeked through the hole and saw my sister, female 36, and her 3 kids, 5, 3, and 2. I did not open the door and talk to her behind it, and I'll explain why in a minute. She said she had an argument with her chronically ill husband, male 34, and wanted to once again punish him by keeping the kids away from him, until he apologized to her for what he said, which was irregular argument stuff. Explanation. She started doing this when he got sick. Every time she gets in an argument with my brother-in-law, she'd take the kids and refuses to bring them back till I apologize to her. He has a medical condition that prevents him from getting outside the house. She's been using that, and instead of taking the kids to our aunt's house this time, she brought them to me since aunt is out of town. She asked that I take the kids for 2 days, but I refused and pointed out how unacceptable and wrong for her to punish her husband who's already sick, and using the fact that he can't drive to go pick his kids up or at least see them, against him, should keep them away for days. She started talking about how her husband doesn't care about her hurt feelings, and how much she does for him. Also, how this method has proven to be effective since it got him to recognize his wrongdoings and apologize. But I replied that he probably was only apologizing just to see the kids. I said it wasn't fair for the kids either, but she said they agreed to stay with me and told me to open the door because they missed me so much. I refused and said I won't be responsible when brother-in-law finally decides to do something about this and get the cops involved. She yelled that she's their mother, so the cops won't do a damn thing about it, and assured me my brother-in-law would never do that knowing how much she's cared for him. But I stood my ground and said I won't be opening the door. Period. She yelled saying I was unsupportive and selfish to keep my nieces and nephew out, and refused to open the door for them. I suggested she go work her issues out like a rational adult, and stop pulling cruel stunts that affects her husband and the kids' emotional/mental health. She took offense to that, and said I was clearly on my brother-in-law's side. She shamed me in front of the kids for 10+ minutes, then left. Hours later, my dad, who lives in another town, called, shaming and berating me for not opening the door for his grandchildren, as well as insulting my sister and siding against her. I explained my reasons, but he said the kids are with my cousin, and insisted I go pick them up. My husband said I should have opened the door for the kids, and that he could see how Dad would be upset with me for not taking the kids in till my sister's conflict with her husband is resolved. He wants me to go pick the kids up, but I keep refusing. But I feel like I'm unsupportive of my sister. More details about my brother-in-law. He has a chronic illness that's gotten worse lately, and limited his ability to do most things. To my knowledge, he wears catheter, wears a cannula and a medical device so he can't drive or walk outside a house. My parents never liked him because he was already sick when my sister married him, and said she was wasting her life with him, but she always says she loves him. But I'm not even sure judging by her recent actions. Now for the top comments. Not today home. Do not go and pick up the kids. Get in touch with CPS instead to explain the situation. CPS for the kids and Adult Protective Services for the husband. Both need to be called now. Not today hall for the OP. Not today hall. Your sister is weaponizing her kids against a guy who can't fight back. The guy's chronically ill. and can't even leave the house to get them. She is abusive. There, I said it. She shouldn't worry about the cops getting involved. It's civil at this point. But boy, if husband gets a lawyer involved, will he have ammunition against her? Her husband, if he doesn't divorce her, will resent her. Probably already does. And her kids, when they're old enough to figure out what she's doing, will resent her. He can't physically take care of himself, let alone 3 kids. I don't think he can get custody. Not today, home. There's something deeply wrong with your family's dynamic here. That your dad is encouraging this is bizarre. It sounds like you need to lay down some firm boundaries with him. Oh yeah, of course my dad is on her side. She's his favorite daughter. There, I said it bluntly. What can I possibly do with them? It's helpless. They have been putting more pressure on me and side-eyeing me for allegedly siding with my brother-in-law. The man has enough to deal with and doesn't need these pathetic games my sister keeps playing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing him to hold up his end of the bargain? Long story short, 3 years ago my fiancé's mom was trying to leave a relationship and needed a place to stay. At that time we lived in a very small, cramped 2-bedroom apartment, with the second bedroom converted into my office because I work from home and need a space for my employment equipment. 2 monitors, printer, fax, filing cabinets, etc. Despite me saying that I truly didn't want to give up my space, he begged and pleaded until I finally gave in. He said, and I quote, "When the day comes, I would do the same for you if your family ever needed it." I was honestly still far, far from happy, because realistically speaking, his mom didn't need a place to go at all. The house her and her boyfriend had was in fact hers, and she had owned it for years. So why she was the one who moved out is beyond me. It wasn't a toxic relationship. She just wasn't feeling it anymore. Fast forward 2 months of her staying. She has completely taken over my office space, and I have my equipment set up in the only other spot available, directly in front of my TV. She moves out and back in with her boyfriend. Never paid a dime and didn't even bother taking most of her things with her, which took me more than 3 days to clear out with my fiancé. Not impressed. Anyhow, we upgrade. We bought a 4-bedroom home last year with a plan of expanding our family. This was prior to finding out he is infertile. It sucks, but honestly, it is what it is. I'm not wildly upset about it. However, my mom just lost her home due to foreclosure. She was renting, and her landlord didn't pay his rent, so the house was foreclosed, and she was given a 3-day notice to quit. My mom has my siblings with her, 14-year-old twins. Very well behaved and clean kids. She needs a place to go, and we have 2 rooms available. I bring it up with my fiancé, and he immediately says he isn't comfortable with it, and that he doesn't want his home to feel like it isn't his by allowing other people to move in and take over. So I brought up his agreement years back, and stated that I allowed his mother to move in for literally no reason, whereas my mother legit needs a place. He is now saying that that was years ago, and the situation is 100% different because there was 2 teenagers running the house when his mom moved in. He says I'm an a-hole for trying to force this on him and make him do something he isn't comfortable with. Am I the a-hole? I have no words, Opie. I would rethink the fiancé's status. He's up to bat and proving he doesn't value your family the way he demands you to value his. How about offering him to stay with his mommy dearest if he can't fathom sharing a 4-bedroom home with your siblings for a short period of time? I mean, she should return the favor, right? Not today, home. You deserve better. Also, the intention was to eventually have a kid or more with you. Does he assume a child wouldn't grow into a teenager? Unfortunately, some parents like little kids and only want little kids. Once they stop being cute to them, they don't give them the same amount of attention and love that they did when they were toddlers. So, they have more. I knew a guy who just kept having children over and over with his wife, but he showed a lot of neglect and distaste towards his teenage son, who was often forced to babysit the younger kids. Mysteriously, though, he was always very active and loving with the toddlers. Wait. He wanted you to give up space that you used for work purposes / paycheck purposes for his mother who had literally no reason to leave her own home that she legitimately owns. Then he says that your mother with 2 teenagers who are presumably easier to handle than, say, toddlers, aren't allowed in any of the 2 extra bedrooms, assuming one is used for your workspace, even though there were circumstances beyond her control that made her homeless. I'm assuming your mother only lost her home, and I am also assuming she did not lose her job, that she isn't subsisting predominantly in any welfare programs like Section 8 housing or other such housing subsidies. And if this is the case, then it sounds like a very temporary arrangement. Your mother does otherwise have the means to afford her own place, but just needs time to save for it. Am I correct in assuming this? Otherwise, I don't know if there is possibly any extra info to ask for that would ever make me think the contrary, but you are not today home. You are correct. So my mother is a full-time RN, 12 years strong. She would pay rent and not expect to live for free, despite me never asking. Which is more than I can say for his mother who didn't lift a finger to help with the bills or cleaning. My mom is also a clean freak, so I know our home would never be in shambles. Not today home, but why are you in this relationship? It sounds like he doesn't care about you or your family. Oddly enough, this is actually the first time something like this has ever arose. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my son's wife out? So my son got married super early, 18, and I supported him but also expressed my grievances. Anyways, his wife has always hated me for anything I do. I've tried to extend an olive branch, but she always rejects it. Him and his wife fell on quite hard times after my son lost his job, and my son has been fine living with me but his wife wasn't. She complains about anything and everything I do. She hates my cooking, but if my son heats her up a bowl, it's the best thing ever. If I clean the whole house plus the room they're staying in, he always misses a spot. Never a thank you or anything. Yesterday, I decided I didn't want to be treated like this anymore, and told her that I don't know where this hostility was coming from, and if she doesn't at least try to get to know me, then she can leave. She proceeded to call me the B word, so I gave her 30 days to move out. My son said that was too harsh and to just deal with it, but I already have for a long time. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edited to add, I found out why daughter-in-law has been treating me like this. My son told her that I resent her for taking my son. I don't know why I told her that, but it is what it is. Info, I am kicking my son out too. Not today home. Married adults acting like children. No one is entitled to your house. 30 days is generous. There is no reason why either of them cannot find work right now. Jumping in top comment to add, based on Opie's edit. It does not matter that son told her you resent her. You are not acting like it. You house them, you feed them, you clean for them. You are treating them with respect and love, so at the very least, she should be respectful and polite. She should be doing these tasks herself as a thank you for letting them live with you and supporting them. But why in the world would your son say something like that? They both sound too immature to be married. Not today home. You are giving them a place to stay, food to eat, and other living necessities. It is your house, and you have a right to kick them out if they aren't pulling their weight, especially if she's disrespectful towards you at every corner. It boggles my mind. My husband and I lived with my in-laws shortly after getting married as we were in the middle of finding a place of our own. We didn't pay rent, so instead we cooked, cleaned, went grocery shopping, did maintenance. Family or not, adults have to contribute to the household in one way or another. The disrespect is the final straw. No one should expect free housing, food, maid service, then disrespect a person providing all of that. I'm glad you stood up for yourself, Opie. Not today home. Nobody should have put up with this kind of disrespect and hostility in their own home. You welcomed this person into your home and shown them kindness in their time of need. I can't even begin to understand how she has the nerve to treat you and talk to you this way. Any normal person would be thankful and do their best to be respectful and helpful around the house. Info. How does your son feel about the way she talks to you? Has he actually heard the things she says to you / how does he react? He rarely hears, and if he does, then he pretends he didn't. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents their divorce was hard on me even if they were still friendly afterward? I'm 24 female, I'm expecting my first child, and the event brought up some issues between my parents and me. When I was 8, my parents divorced. They still got along okay, but didn't want to be together anymore and worked on co-parenting and making things easier for me and my brother who was 10. It was better than some of my friends had it, but still hard. I mourned the family life I had enjoyed before. Having one home where both parents live and where we were just a family, not two families with different kids in one, and a new person who is considered your parents by everyone but you, and where it's weird because everyone thinks them getting along made it, so there was no struggling. But then people just think you fall madly in love with a nice person your parent marries, and readily accept a new person in a position of a parent. They think it makes jumping between homes easier. It does somewhat. If we forgot something at mom's or dad's, the other would bring us to pick it up with no drama. But I used to long for the days where I had a home. When my brother was 17 and coming up on graduation, My parents told him all 4 parents were going to do the graduation dinner for the graduating kid and parents. And he told them no, because he only had 2 parents and only mom and dad could go. They said he had 4, that the steps were just as good parents, and he told them no. The relationship changed after that. It was only with me becoming a mom they expected me to side with them over what had happened, and for me to say everything was perfect with a divorce. I told them it wasn't. That the divorce was hard on me despite how well they got along. That I was so happy they were happy and had better lives now. But divorce is always going to be something to adjust to for a kid regardless of circumstances, and they can't keep forcing us to say otherwise. They called me childish, and we haven't spoken since. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You expressed a perfectly valid emotion, and did so in a non-judgmental way. It was not childish. The reaction was though. Not the a-hole. It was understandable. You can't adapt immediately. It takes time. You were right to tell them that. You were respectful and reasonable. My parents broke up when I was 19 and no longer lived at home. I was an adult and it still sucked so bad. Still shattered my world. I can't even fathom how awful it must be for a child. It's something you might possibly never get over, and I don't see why should you lie if someone asks you how you felt about it. Not the a-hole. You and your brother are entitled to your feelings, and your parents are denying them. Are they expecting you to have your step-parents be called grandpa and grandma by your kid? They will be, because it will save so much drama to let it happen. You're the a-hole. What would you rather have happen between your parents? What is your ideal way of having them resolve this issue of divorce? Because from where I'm at, they seem to be really fair to you and your brother. Would you rather force 2 people to be unhappy while you grow up ignorant to their problems and their feelings? Or that they did what they did and end a marriage amicably? Your feelings are valid for sure, but that doesn't mean you aren't an a-hole. If you or your brother were mistreated in any way, I would understand how you feel about your step-parents. But you said they were the nicest, yet you alienated them, and they're still there trying to have some sort of a relationship with you. Your brother's reaction, although valid because of how he feels, is still unfair to 4 people who really didn't do anything wrong to him or you. And this is all based off of the info you have provided. If they mistreated you, let us know. But if not, you guys are the a-hole. You can both be the a-hole and still have valid feelings. I don't know how other people on here can't see that. They never mistreated us, and I never said they should stay married. Acknowledging our feelings would be nice though. I have acknowledged theirs, and I agree that what they did was for the best. But that doesn't mean it wasn't hard. And not all relationships look the same. My step-parents are nice people, but they are not my parents. I do not love them or care about them the same as my parents. I always include them though, but never ever complain to them about having to. It would just be nice to not have them decide what my feelings are about all this. Am I the a-hole for not leaving an equal share of my inheritance to my stepchildren as my biological child in my will? Plus mini update. I, 55 male, married my wife, 52 female, 2 decades ago, bringing with her 2 children from her previous marriage, 27 female and 30 male. We also have a child of our own, 19 female. I am the primary breadwinner. My wife has always been a stay-at-home mom to raise all 3 children, and since they have left, continues to run the house, and I am more than happy with this arrangement. Most of our joint assets therefore came from my income, as my wife came to the marriage with no assets. We are aware that wife's ex-husband has had a windfall of inheritance money, as conveyed by my stepchildren. This means that my stepchildren are said to inherit that windfall if not squandered. Their paternal grandmother and other family members are still in the picture with possible inheritance that may yet be passed down. Conversely, my biological daughter would not benefit from that inheritance money and would only benefit from whatever inheritance I can give her, as no other relatives in the picture that could support her or leave additional inheritance money. I have therefore chosen, with support from my wife, to will a larger portion of inheritance to my biological daughter. For example, if my wife died in an accident tomorrow, we would be leaving about $900,000 in assets to 19 female, and $25,000 each to 27 female and 30 male. 19 female would have no family support, thus relying entirely on the inheritance money, whereas 27 female and 30 male will still have other family members that can support them. If ex-husband died tomorrow, 27 female and 30 male are likely to receive $250,000 each in assets if not more, and will still have us to support them when needed, as we currently do. When we discussed this with 27 female and 30 male, emphasizing that they are set to receive inheritance from ex-husband and potentially others on his side of the family, they determined this was unfair, that my assets should be split evenly between the three of them. I retorted that if their father died, would 19 female get any of that inheritance? And they said no, because he is not her father. To be fair, they do look up to me and consider me as a father figure even though I am not their father. Therefore, I am wondering if I am the a-hole? Now for the top advice before the mini update. Not the a-hole, but I see no reason why you ever should have discussed it with the 3 kids in the first place. You and your wife are in agreement. Why ask the kids for their opinion? Especially since you're only in your 50s. I don't think it's to get their opinion. I think it's so everyone is on the same page in case anything happens. Deaths can tear a family apart, especially when there are surprises in the will. I think it's smart, even if the stepkids didn't like what they heard. Exactly. When people have these conversations, it's usually an effort to avoid anybody being blindsided at a time they already lost their loved one, or an attempt to explain the reasons behind the decision to avoid any animosity while everyone is grieving. I'm going through this with my grandmother right now, and her reasoning is that it's important to her that she knows if there's anything of hers that's really special to us. For example, I want her books, because she and I are both avid readers, and even though we like different genres, having them would bring me happiness and make me think of her. None of us is gonna come out and say that stuff to her, so if she didn't ask, she wouldn't know. You are likely going to get crap on here, but I'm going to say not the a-hole. The sub seems to think step-parents have to be perfect and there should be no differences ever. First off, I personally am fine with step-kids getting less of an inheritance. I say this as someone who grew up in a blended family. Throw in the face that their father has a totally separate inheritance for them and they'll have more anyway. I'd say your stepkids are just greedy. Also, there are 2 adults contributing to the inheritance, mom and dad, and not just mom. So at minimum, a fair split is that the youngest gets 2 times what the older children get. But I think it's fair to skew it to try to give all 3 kids roughly the same in the end when factoring in their dad's contribution. Not the a-hole. Very telling that they said no sharing their inheritance because their father is not her father. How is that different from them and you? They are being greedy OP. You can tell because they think it's unfair when you do the exact same thing to them that they want to do to her. Now for the mini update. I've been looking at some really insightful comments about how to calculate what to give my stepchildren, with a number of comments suggesting I do need to give more. 1 or 2 people have suggested a formula of first splitting assets in half, considering 50-50 between wife and myself, and then dividing the 50 between the 3 children, essentially giving my stepchildren about 1/6 each. However, as noted above, there is more to consider here than a simple division, such as support from others, but also some of this is physical assets like a house that cannot be simply considered as cash value. But it is clear that we, wife and I, in this joint decision should be willing a higher amount to my stepchildren. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing away the expensive whiskey my brother got me for my 40th? I'm 40 male, just turned 40 last week. I'm divorced and have 2 teenage kids with my ex-wife, 17 male and 14 female. My whole family came to my girlfriend's apartment last Saturday for my birthday party. My parents, some aunts and uncles, some cousins, my 3 brothers with their families, my 2 kids, and my girlfriend's 15-year-old son who lives with us. I am a recovered alcoholic, and I've been sober for 6 years now. Alcohol absolutely ruined my life. It destroyed my marriage and nuked my relationship with my kids for years. So I don't allow alcohol in my home now, for anyone. It just isn't served nor tolerated here. My entire family knows this very well as they know my entire history with it. For my 40th, my brother bought me a very expensive bottle of whiskey. It had writing on it, a very heavy bottle and very old whiskey. So it probably cost him a couple $100. When he gave me the bottle, I was shocked and said, I don't drink, but thanks for the gift. He then opened the bottle and started pouring shots in plastic cups for everyone. My daughter had a panic attack at the smell of the alcohol, which I am painfully aware is my fault, and I will never forgive myself for it. So I told my brother to take the alcohol out on the balcony and just leave it there. He wouldn't do it and took a shot of the whiskey. I told him to seriously stop it, and he proceeded to pour the whiskey. He then said I'm acting like a sober saint now when I ruined everyone's birthdays for years with my drinking. I told him to come to the hallway with me and talk it out. He refused and put a glass of whiskey in my hand. I took the trash can, threw the whiskey bottle in it and the plastic cups and took the trash out. My brother then stormed off and my mom followed him. She later called me, demanding an apology for disrespecting my brother like that. My dad said I was being overly sensitive, and some of my other family members also agree. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. What your brother did is really, really awful and cruel. Possibly the worst gift I've ever heard of someone giving another, especially as he is aware of your struggles and recovery. Congratulations on recovery and standing up for yourself and your family. And I can't believe the rest of the family supporting the brother and calling Opie disrespectful. It's bizarre world. I know. It's basically a miracle Opie is safely in recovery with that kind of support system. Kudos to Opie. I knew a couple where the husband was an alcoholic but tried very hard to stay sober. Every time he had a few successful weeks, the wife would buy wine to celebrate and ask him to have one glass with her. Just one glass. You can do that? One really don't need enemies with family like that. That's the a-hole. Brother was being horrendously terrible / taunting. Read a room, dude. Especially the pain this caused the kids. Not a situation to double down on your bottle flex. Mom and anyone upset at Opie can pound sand and get their juice on their own time. Opie should have poured it to prevent them from dumpster diving afterwards. I say this as someone who drinks. The level of disrespect shown Opie here is off the charts. Now contact a lot of them. He should have poured the whiskey on his brother's dumb head. Like, what the heck did I just read? I hope Opie goes no contact with him and everyone enabling his brother because holy smokes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking my grandma's heart? My 16 female dad is a horrible person. I'm sorry, but he just is. He isn't all that terrible to me or my brother, 17 male, but he's horrible to our mom. Growing up, it was very obvious that our dad saw our mom as lesser than. He'd yell at her over everything and made her responsible for everything. Cleaning, taking care of us, etc. My mom never said anything and tried her hardest to make it seem like everything was okay. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm too scared to stand up to my dad. I always freeze. My brother, on the other hand, does not care. He yells back and isn't afraid of anything. I think my brother realized I'm too scared to protect our mom and recently told us that he's going to college nearby and will be commuting as the college doesn't require first years to live on campus. My parents were confused and my dad was a little upset. He kept telling him that he's going to miss out and he'll regret it, but my brother didn't budge. Mom even told him that he should go and that she'll be fine, but my brother just said that they're lucky he's even going to college. Well, yesterday we got a surprise visit from our grandma, Dad's mom. She never visits, and when she does, she also just treats my mom the same as Dad, so we weren't very excited. But we were civil, because, well, if we aren't, then she'll find a way to blame our mom. It was okay at first, but then she asked my mom, "Is this what you wanted? Are you proud of yourself?" My mom started to shake, but my brother immediately got in between them. Grandma just rolled her eyes and asked my brother if he was really going to throw away his life just because he thinks his mom's too fragile to survive without him. My brother didn't say anything. I then spoke up and said, "It's not because of Mom, it's because of you and Dad. You guys are horrible, and you really need to get the heck out." My grandma immediately started yelling at me. She said that she expected better, and said that I'm rude, disrespectful, and bratty. She then told my mom that she raised horrible kids, before leaving angrily. I know I was just standing up for my mom, and my brother keeps telling I'm fine, but I feel guilty. My grandma apparently adores me according to my dad, and I really broke her heart. It is not like I made things better, maybe even worse. And now my dad is expecting me to apologize, but I don't know if I want to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad is just manipulating you by saying you broke her heart. Doesn't sound like she has one to break anyway. For real. My grandma apparently adores me according to my dad. Really? Because he just called you rude, disrespectful, and bratty, and said you were a horrible kid. I know it's awful to finally see her for who she truly is, but she only liked you because you didn't stand up to her or your dad, and let them walk all over you. The moment you spoke up with them, they both turned on you. That's what abusers do. Not the a-hole. Yeah, seems like the father inherited the lack of heart as well. The father and grandmother are the only a-holes in this situation. But I hope Opie and her brother tried to formulate a plan to help their mother to leave, because she's probably dealing with a lot more abuse than they realize. Especially if she's literally shaking with fear in response to something like her old mother-in-law getting pissy with her. Not the a-hole. While perhaps not the most tactful thing to say, it sounds like this has been building for a long time, and you are human. Your feelings and emotions are justified. I highly suspect that your father is using your grandmother's broken heart as a form of emotional manipulation. I would wager this is something he's done countless times to you, your brother, and your mother. Have you spoken to a trusted adult or a therapist about some of the things happening at home? Neither you nor your brother should have to feel like it's your job to protect your mother. It has been building, and I guess I also took out my feelings regarding my dad out on her as well. And I don't know. My brother always told me not to tell anyone and that he'll handle it. So I guess I haven't. I think my mom's siblings once tried asking me about the situation at home when I was younger. But again, my brother said not to say anything, so I didn't. Thinking back, I think they know something's up. Not the a-hole. Your father and grandmother owe you, your mother, and your brother an apology. And I hope someday your mother will leave this mess. I hope my mom does too. It's hard though. He doesn't give her any access to money and she hasn't had a job in years, since my dad made her quit, so I can't blame her. My brother and I have been saving up though, and my brother's planning on taking extra classes so he can get through college as fast as he can and land a good job. I have faith it'll work. I doubt we'll ever get apologies though. I figured your father was the typical controlling a-hole. I hope your mother doesn't feel obligated to stay with your father for her children's sake, because that is fairly common. Last story. Am I the a-hole for making my parents choose between me and my ex/former friend? I was best friends with Jen from preschool through 9th grade. Her home life was pretty rough, and she practically lived at my house, and my parents called her the daughter they never had. When we were in 9th grade, I asked her out. It took some convincing, but she eventually said yes. She broke up with me over text the day after our date. She barely went to school, didn't text, and wasn't at my house at all the next few weeks. She eventually showed up at my house in the middle of the night. I took her in, no questions asked. Then she left in the middle of the night a few weeks later. I admit I didn't love having her around. It didn't make it easy on her. But apparently her leaving was hard on everybody. My parents even had to go to therapy. Last year, I moved out for college, but I was still planning on coming to visit. A few months after I moved out, Jen showed up at my parents' house pregnant and with a baby. They took her in again, then called me and my brothers asking how we feel about her staying with them. My brothers were okay with it, but I can't forgive her for what she did a few years ago. My parents let her stay anyways, but said they had conditions on her staying with them, like her going to therapy and either enrolling in college or getting a job. I told them I still wasn't okay with it. We argued a bit and I told them I wouldn't visit if she was living there. She's still there, and I held true to my word and I haven't visited since. They're trying to get me to come for Christmas, but I won't be there if Jen is living there. So now they're calling me petty and saying I need to forgive her, but I think I have a right to be upset. So at 15 you were told no, and then after bullying her, which you refer to as it took some convincing, she eventually said yes. You had one single date, which you harassed her into agreeing to. Then you referred to her not wanting a second date, which she also didn't want the first date either by the way, as breaking up with you. She then spent weeks avoiding you, which you still didn't pick up on. You don't say how old you are now, but it's clear you still resent her for not wanting to date you. You're the a-hole. You forgot the part where Opie didn't love having her around and didn't make it easy on her, meaning that Opie took a home life that could potentially have been stable and safe for a girl whose original home life seems anything but, and turned it into a living hell for her, all because she turned down a second date after having been bullied into a first one. Opie, I disagree with your family. You don't need to forgive anything, because you have nothing to forgive. She did nothing wrong. What you need to do is beg and grovel and pray for forgiveness from both her and your family for everything you have done to make this girl's life a living hell. If you can't do that, keep staying away. It's better for everyone, especially that poor girl. Not to mention how low she must have been feeling to willingly return to the home of a boy who made it a living hell for her. OP, she was desperate enough for help from the only people, read your parents, who showed her any amount of compassion and kindness, that she decided dealing with your pathetic butt was worth it.